Hey guys, welcome back to Garden Rescue. Today we are in a really awesome person's zoo. If you don't know her, her name is Sui. She's done some really awesome stuff on the workshop, and this was her first zoo. It was actually a franchise zoo, and I floated the idea of doing a garden rescue, and she was very on board with it. But then we realized can't do that in a franchise zoo, so we ended up moving it over. We took this whole thing, made it a habitat, and moved it over into a sandbox park. So now that I can work on it. Not everything came in exactly correctly, but most things did, and it was very surprising to see that a lot of it did come in so well. So this zoo is designed to be like an impromptu zoo in a ruinous sort of Mayan type area. Something Central America, they just decided to install a zoo. That's kind of the story of this thing. So it is definitely more into the fantasy realm, and so it was the perfect opportunity for me to try something completely different and something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and Sui was way up for it. And the reason why it came up is because she had this sort of like spiral path to get up to the upper plateau here. And it reminded me of the MYST series games and the Channelwood Age in particular. Now, if you don't know what MYST is, I wouldn't be surprised because it is a puzzle game that came out in 1993, I think. Originally it was pre-rendered graphics, but they did do an update in the 2000s to make it all 3D and give it new shaders and stuff like that. But basically what the MYST series games is a 3D environment type puzzle game in which you would manipulate the environment and in ways to open up doors or turn on machines or something like that. It was always a way to try and transfer energy to something mechanical to make it function, and then you could go on in the puzzle and kind of figure it out. The Channelwood Age, in case that you want to actually play MYST, this is going to definitely be a spoiler. So, in the rare case that I have somebody who actually wants to go back and see the game after this, yeah, this is a spoiler right here. So the Channelwood Age starts you in the bottom of a swamp, and they kind of throw you in the lower tier. You look around, there's nothing but water around you, and then there's these big trees up above. You're standing on these platforms and they have different water channels, and what you're supposed to do is go to the windmill, which allows you to open up the water pipe. And once you do that, you can get the machines to work within the Channelwood area by diverting the water pressure to different sort of things. And then once you finally get the water set in a way that it's operating all the machines, then you go up to the upper level, which is a bunch of really cool tree houses and rope bridges, and it's just an incredible aesthetic. I think it's one of the most iconic things of the MYST series, of any of the games really. I think it's just one of those places that you remember for sure. So in this zoo, she's got the pygmy hippo habitat here and these trees. And the way that she's layered them together makes them look a little bit tiled, and so I'm just going to do that. I'm going to keep this because I do like the look of this elevator shaft here. I think that's clever, and I think that also works to the aesthetic. But basically, I mean, I could go through the concerns, but basically all of this is gone. And I talked to Sui beforehand, before I went through and pretty much altered her zoo forever, and she was okay with it, so... So the concerns are all of this. There we go. All gone. Now, we can get to work. Okay, you can see it's quite different now. I have removed basically all the people too, because I don't want to deal with the people at this point. And I've made this a giant swamp area so that it is just a big tank of water. The other thing I did too is that her waterfalls They weren't going up to the edge like water typically does, so I used the barrier trick. You create a glass cube and then lower the walls. And I've done that in 4 areas for 4 different waterfalls to all spill from this, into this, into this, and just make the water look a little bit better that way. I've also got that really iconic staircase from the MYST series that's called the Archimedes screw. And what we're going to do is actually support it against the tree and make sure that that all looks good. And then I've got the start of this swamp kind of going here. In this light, it looks pretty inky, so I'm going to turn that. You can just see the vastness in here of this particular area. And then you'll see that temple area. That's the next sort of habitat that she's going to do. And I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be, but it's going to be the big temple of the area. But yeah, in here it is a mixture of the K-pop trees, because they are the largest ones. They have the largest canopy, and that's what you want in a sort of swampy area. There's going to be a mixture of things going on because we don't have exactly what we want. I tried a more of a cedar here. I don't know if that's going to work. I mean, swamp cedars are big trees, and I don't think this is big enough. And then I've got the path in here because I do want people to come in and experience. It's not going to be as as ramshackle as the real Channelwood garden in MYST. Yeah, people are going to be able to use it, although I still want to get some sort of texture on there. So this is a big departure, and hopefully we can make it look really good, and Sui doesn't yell at me for basically taking out a good portion of the zoo. Like, this is the actual zoo right now that has been worked on. I've taken 1/3 of it out. Alright, you can see we're a little bit further now. I've got the basic structure of the Archimedes screw staircase in. It's just a bunch of those new Arctic beams kind of layered in. They've got that really nice curved structure to them. So it's a little safer than the one in the actual MYST game, but not by much. I mean, if you missed a step, you'd be tumbling down those stairs for a while. You can see I've got a little bit more of the palette kind of figured out too. It is a lot of understory type stuff, grasses, and then this sort of caribou moss acts as a really nice kind of filler, so that all the gunk that gets stuck in the swamp kind of bushes and trees and grasses, that's what's kind of hanging around there. I've sunk some birch into the water and some Australian tree fern, some of that mangrove, some bamboo. And then Sui has her own special custom tree for this area. Let's see if I can find it. That doesn't exist in the game as of yet. And it's really awesome because it is just a bunch of arrowwoods. But the way the light hits some of this stuff in the game, it looks a lot better than some of the other options that I was coming up with. Along with the rest of the material, I also started putting in some monkey puzzle tree because it has a really cool texture that you'd find in swamps. Even though you wouldn't necessarily find this tree in a swamp, you'd find something similar to it in the swamp. And then I've started working on the back walls here because even though the real Channelwood puzzle is in the middle of a vast ocean, I don't really have that option here because it is still part of a zoo. And so I had to figure out a way to combine the two. I had to combine the Milky Way Zoo and also this Channelwood-inspired garden area. And so what I did is I just pulled off pieces of the temple that she's got over here. She's got this really cool, I mean, it's all set for you, and all you gotta do is, open it up and take a portion out, and there you go. You've got a wall, and that's the kind of the easiest way to do it. Plus, it helps to kind of unite the whole garden, so that when the zoo is all put together, that it doesn't look so haphazard. Hopefully, when this is all said and done, it blends and it makes sense, and that's really the goal here. See, I've blended in some of the path with some of the new Arctic wood pieces and also some of the old log pieces. And by sinking them in, because they are at different sort of, the way that the piece has been modeled, you've got pieces that bend in, that push out. So you pull it into this kind of barky mulch, and it looks really awesome. I really like the way that turned out. And then the other thing that I get to use a lot of that I have not been able to in most gardens is the papyrus, because it is something that absolutely loves to be in water, can grow in water, can grow up to 10 feet in water. It is a really awesome looking texture, very feathery, and it looks great in this sort of swampy area. All right, here we are a little bit further again, and this is sort of a blessing and a curse because I didn't have to make these rope bridges. These were gifted to me by Pond Shrimp, awesome member, who you should know already from Little Eden, which I think was Garden Rescue 3, and also they have a garden dedicated to them in Planet Botanic, and a bunch of other things. I mean, they're just awesome. So I didn't have to make them, but yeah, they're 500 pieces each. So every time I work around them, the game freezes for about 5 seconds. So a little bit of a plus and minus there. The big thing is I reconnected the parts of the zoo that were not functioning. I accidentally broke one of the paths here. Now this is all just going to be hidden. This is all like backstage stuff, and it's going to be hidden by these big old waterfalls. But at least it functions now, which is important because the tigers were not getting fed, and that's a problem because apparently animals like to eat. The big area that I worked on was this first 2 falls, and I really like the way they came out. They're supposed to look like they are kind of being excavated from that stone, so it feels like this whole area should have been like a stone retaining wall, and the water is just pouring over in a very natural fashion, a lot of different cascades, and then as it hit the steps, it breaks up even more as the water continues into the swamp. How to do that is pretty much trial and error. The best way that I can say is that just use a lot of different particles and don't be afraid to sink them in so that you get something that isn't so forward. Like sometimes these particles can feel really, really white, and sometimes you want them to look a little bit more transparent. And then the fill-in is a really strict palette. Even though it's a swamp, you don't throw everything in the kitchen sink at it. You pretty much stick to what you have going already, and you just multiply it over and over again. So in this case, it's a lot of mangroves, bamboo, a lot of ferns, these custom trees that I created, the kapok for the big structure, and then some filler bushes here and there, but it's a really, really simple palette. It's just done over a much larger area. Alright, so a bit of an intermediate here. I ended up having to take all the paths out. I had to take all the water out because if I move the water and try and adjust the borders or anything like that, then the paths don't work. So that's fun. Isn't that a fun part of this game? Is that the paths and the water don't really like to talk to each other. But, I mean, it gives you a chance to see the garden for what it is. I've got the awesome tree houses set in each one of the kapok trees, and then the bridges that are connecting up, and it's really coming together now. This this is so cool to be able to see all of the pieces coming together, and it just feels a lot like the Channelwood experience when I first played Myst. I've also got this really cool little thing that I'm doing is I'm trying to connect all of the different areas with wires, so that everything looks like it has some sort of cable or purpose or something like that. And so I've got these suspended from the tree, these new like connector pieces, and I'm using the vines as a sort of like power cord. And then you've got these little things, and these weren't necessarily in the game, these little kind of outcrops. They were more prominent in the next series of games, so not the original, but like the 3rd or the 4th series. But I really like it. It looks cool with all the pots and stuff like that. And this lamp and at night this scene is really beautiful. Let me see if I can, almost an eerie glow. It's not necessarily comforting, but it is otherworldly, and that's what's really awesome about this whole project so far. I've got the rope bridges all connected up so that you can kind of walk across, and you'll be able to get out of the Channelwood kind of area here pretty easily up on this cliff, and it's just another way to get people up. These do not function. I decided to not do that this time only because I wanted to keep my sanity. This would have been impossible. And if people actually were able to use it, they might screw up the pathfinding up here. They might get stuck. There might be a whole host of problems. So this is really only for the visitor, the human visitor, and not for the peeps. They'll be happy on the ground, and we'll get some sort of staircase to go up to the top layer there. But yeah, I am not going to work the paths in like that. I finally found a place for the elevator shaft, and I made it a little bit bigger. But yeah, I have it down in this area, which is a kind of a cool little sunken area where you can see the gharials. This is the gharial underwater viewing, if you can even see it. It's pretty murky in there. But the other thing is this elevator is not going to function, and that's going to be a little bit of a throwback to the original Channelwood, which you have to work all the pipes and stuff like that to get the water to one of the generators to actually make the elevator work. But in this case, it's just not going to function. What I want to do is add some scaffold around it. I really want to make this feel very, very jungly and lusher than it already is. I like where it's headed, but there's a lot of work to do yet. Like all this area back here, I don't even know what I'm going to do. But that's the fun of this. I don't really ever know where I'm going to go with it, but it always turns out. We are in a bit of a massive jump forward, as it always is, but we are done in this this zoo, and oh my gosh, just look at that vista. You got the gharial habitat below, and then you've got the Channelwood garden in there. You can see the elevator shaft has been scaffolded up a little bit. Oh, it just looks awesome. We're gonna walk through it here in a sec, but I want to kind of show you around different areas that I hadn't worked on up to this point, and here we are. So now this area where she's got bathrooms and some food and stuff like that, it just feels it feels really lost and jungly and overtaken.
Yeah. Oh.
Là, mikä levek.
Tuella pudahani ovino.
So there you have it. It's a pretty cool garden, isn't it? This is one of those projects that I felt like it was never going to end. I was running into a bunch of different crashes and other problems and stuff like that, but we got it done, and it looks really awesome. I am so happy with it. A few things to mention is that, here you go. Let's go back over here. You saw this thing. This is the kind of stand-in for the windmill in the true Channelwood, and instead I did a gravity-driven sort of waterfall here, so that it moves this wheel, but that there's also gravity that is running all this water through, and so all the water up here is being used to power all these. So at night, you can see all the different lights and how they function. So you've got the water running through, and that generator's working, so it's a green light, and the lights are working. It's an eerie sort of look, just having the green light of the generator and a little bit of that warm light, but mostly shrouded in really intense moonlight. There you go, and you've pretty much got green all the way up to this end, and then it discharges out there. So the water releases, but you did notice that the elevator wasn't working. So what happened there? Well, if we follow that line, that one's green, that one's working. This one's green, and this one's working. Uh-oh, I see. Oh, and the lights aren't working. So this one's red. Oh, and you can see, yeah, there's a break in the generator. So all the water is squirting out instead of reaching its way down to the elevator. So that generator is completely turned off. There's no power whatsoever. There's no water and there's no discharge. So that's a little bit of the MYST sort of puzzle narrative that I decided to put in here. It has nothing to do, I mean, it doesn't affect the enjoyment of the area or anything like that. And how did I get people to come in here? Well, originally I had decided to get rid of the pygmy hippos, and then I decided to put them back in. And I gave them this sort of environment here. Again, more temple ruins and stuff like that. Fairly simple. I also sunk the mud basin a little bit so that they're a little less obvious. And then what's really cool about the pygmy hippos is that they'll just swim all around you. So all of this is their habitat. Oh, you can see there he is. And they're just chilling in here. There he goes. As part of the original MYST as well, there are broken bridges or bridges you can't access. And so you've got this here, and then it's pretty much all grown in. And the bridge pieces are still kind of there, but not any of the paths. That was partly to kind of have a throwback to the game, but also I liked the idea of having a dead end so that people were more likely to use this as a sort of like viewing platform. And yeah, you can get right up to them, like they're right there, just swimming along. And when you look at this zoo from a distance now, you can see the beautiful swampland in there, and it just feels... It feels right. I know it was a lot more sparse initially, with all the temples and stuff like that. But I think this looks really good, and I think it achieves her aesthetic really well. And you don't have to ask me, she actually recorded some reaction video for me, so here you go. Here is her reaction to what I've done here.
Alright, so, hi, my name is Savannah, or Sui sign up on Discord or like any other gaming thing, Steam, whatever, or make up your path on YouTube, and I'm really excited right now to see my zoo because Mike has been working on it for like 2 weeks, okay, for like 1 week, but I haven't been looking at like any of the screenshots, and I'm super excited because I've been wanting to see it so bad. So I'm about to see it for the first time. Yeah. Oh, I don't know how my computer's gonna handle this, but I guess we will see. The loading screen alone, I feel like, is a good indication of how this is about to go. Okay. So let's go ahead and pause because it's definitely laggy. I see things in the background. Okay. Ooh. Does this path? Yeah, it actually works. What does that lead to? There's a lot of trees. Oh my goodness. I guess I should expect a lot of trees because, you know, it's a garden rescue. Is this a custom tree? Oh god, I zoomed out too much and I saw things. Oh, it's my pygmy hippos. He took my pygmy hippos out originally because he just kind of like nixed the entire thing. I don't even know what... I'm gonna zoom out a little bit to try and like figure out where in the hell I'm supposed to be looking. Okay, gotta get my grounding here. So, a locket. Now this. Okay, this is really cool. Oh, you kept my elevator. I didn't know if you were actually gonna end up keeping the elevator or not. I do really love how you did like the wood within the what is that, like the mulch path or the whatever that path is. I like that you like kind of customized the path so it wasn't just like bland. Oh, I love this. I'm so happy right now. You guys don't even understand. Like this is like a dream come true. Okay, moving along the path here. Oh, nice, and you kept the little moss features here. I like that you just have these little like little jutting off areas that are supposed to be like little viewing areas. Oh wow, there's a whole different path here. Okay, I don't even know which paths to go down anymore. There's so much to look at. Oh, this video is gonna end up being a lot longer than I expected it to be. Oh no, oh my gosh. Oh my god, Mike. You are like... the Arctic pieces. That's so freaking genius. This is insane. These are the screenshots I've been missing out on, aren't they? Oh, wow. I'm way too hyped right now. I'm sorry. I'm probably like the most excited like anybody's ever been responding to this, but wow. I'm just kind of like taking this all in right now. There's a lot to take in. Holy crap. I don't know if I've ever seen like this much of a change on any of the other garden rescues that I've watched you do. So I am like in absolute shock right now.
So if you liked what you saw today, you know what to do. And what are we gonna do next? Well, I've got garden rescues up until mid-January, along with some other garden rescues that I'll poke in here and there. I've got Koali Zoo coming up this weekend. I've got a season zoo to take care of. There's a lot of content coming over the next few days. So, who's next on the garden rescue? Well, it's not going to be nearly as big. It's going to be Beyond Drew and his awesome Thornton Zoo. And we're going to do something very traditional. It's still going to look awesome, as it always does, but it's not going to be nearly the headache that this amazing, but also fraught with peril garden this was. So until next time, I'll see you later, guys. Bye.